Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. This is going to be a kind of simultaneous demonstration and announcement of the new in-person payments function that we've been working on for a while now. We're going to be going over how to get it enabled and how to use the new module. Um, if you catch me saying the word module, that's actually a mistake. It's a it's a new function. It's not going to show up in the module section, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But before we get into the webinar itself, let's get a bit of a slow start because I can see that people are still joining. Let's go over some of our housekeeping. So all of your microphones are muted. If you have any questions throughout, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom window. I have Evan from our customer success team in the chat, and he'll be helping to answer questions. I just want to get ahead of a few things and answer a couple questions right off the bat. One question I know a lot of people are going to have is, when is this going to be available? We're currently finishing up testing and finishing the app, so we're going to have this be available sometime in the next 1 to 2 weeks is our kind of expected timeline. We don't have a hard date for it yet. I will let you know we will be sending out an email to all administrators as soon as it is available. So once it's available, you should see an email come into your inbox letting you know that's available and giving you the final details on how to make sure that you have it enabled. So that's one question I know we're going to get a lot of. Other questions that we're going to get, just make sure, this is a module that's still being tested and we're still finalizing it. So there may be things that we don't have direct answers for immediately, but it is something that in future webinars and in future documentation, we'll have answers for all your questions. Final bit of housekeeping, the recording of this webinar is going to be on our YouTube channel. So if you miss it, or if you have to drop off, or if you want to go back and rewatch anything that we do, you can always head over to clubexpress.com. That's with the dot spelled out on YouTube. So that's clubexpress, DOTCOM on YouTube. You can subscribe there to get notified whenever we put up new webinars or announcements or version announcements. So just keep an eye there for all of the things that we're working on. All right, so let's talk about what we're going to be covering today and what we're going to be going over. So we're going to take a look at the kind of purpose and use case of in-person payments. I'm going to use the term in-person payments and POS, which stands for point of sale, kind of interchangeably today. They are the same function. We're also going to go over how to enable in-person payments. So that's going to be how to make sure that you have everything you need for it to work on your website set up. And we're also going to go over how to make sure that you turn that on correctly on your website. Then once it's enabled, we'll go over how to set it up and get it ready to work. And then we'll talk about how to connect other modules to it. So one of the key features of in-person payments is it lets people complete transactions for items from other modules. So there are other modules within ClubExpress that are connected to it, and we'll go over what those items are and what you can connect from those modules to in-person payments. And then we'll go into our demonstration of how to actually use in-person payments. Just to also get up front of something, I'm going to be demoing it on my computer today. It is a function that is intended to be used on the ClubExpress mobile app. I'll have screenshots throughout to kind of show you what that will look like in the mobile app. You can technically use it on the desktop computer or on a laptop or a tablet, but the intention is to use the ClubExpress mobile app. We'll get around to why that is and how it connects to card readers and things like that a little bit later, so it'll make more sense why we are using the ClubExpress mobile app to do that. And then finally, we'll go over kind of the payment details, how to record a payment for items that are purchased through in-person payments. So we'll go over how to record cash and check. Those are pretty simple, but then we'll talk about the difference between choosing the pay later option. And then finally, we'll spend some time talking about what the credit card processing option looks like. So there's a connection between this function and the Stripe M2 card reader. So that is a specific card reader from Stripe. Stripe is the company that we work with to process the ClubExpress transactions through the ClubExpress payment processor. So if you're using the Stripe basic payments or the Stripe premium payments, you may have seen the webinar we did on that a few weeks ago. If you're curious about that, go check that out. But if you're using those payment processors, all of those payments go through Stripe. And so we are using the Stripe card reader to connect that way. And we'll go over how to, once you get one of those card readers, if you want to accept credit card payments, we'll go over how to connect that. All right, so let's talk about the purpose of this function. So this is trying to fix an issue that we've had for several years now, which is previously administrators who wanted to process any transactions in person really had two primary ways to go about it. One was to just do it the old-fashioned way. You know, they would put up a sign that says this shirt is $10 or something like that, and they would exchange cash, or they would use some other third-party point of sale system, and they would, you know, completely have that transaction outside of ClubExpress because we did not have a direct kind of tie in to ClubExpress for in-person payments. The other option was to just instruct their users or their contacts to use the ClubExpress website and go online themselves to, say, the storefront or something and make a purchase that way. And then they could give them a physical item, you know, in person once they prove that they made that purchase. But those both of those are kind of disconnected. One of them has them not tracking the information on ClubExpress, which isn't ideal. The other one has you kind of instructing a user to do it on their own device, which is also not ideal. This function allows an administrator to have their own phone or tablet with the app installed on it, and they can pull up the items that someone wishes to purchase, add them to a cart, and then have them either pay in cash or check, or swipe a card or tap a card to pay that way. Um, so that's going to be, you know, really useful for people who are having in-person events and they have merchandise or digital products that they want to sell. It's also useful for signing people up. So there's an option within it. So if you have someone show up to an event and they want to join your organization, instead of just telling them to go online and possibly they forget, you can actually sign them up on the spot and they can become a member with you right then and there. So yeah, so we'll get into kind of how that works a little bit later, but that's kind of the purpose of this, is so that, you know, administrators who are in person at an event have a way in their own hands to process a transaction for someone who has attended one of their events. So let's talk about how to get this function. So once we launch in, like I said, probably about 1 to 2 weeks, you'll be getting an email once it's available. Once it is available, what you'll need to do to launch is complete two prior requirements. So there's two things that are necessary for you to have set up in order for this function to work at all. The first is going to be having ClubExpress manage your credit card payments. So you have to be using the basic or premium payments. The reason for that is that we've tied in pretty directly with the Stripe payment processor. And so a lot of the functionality of in-person payments is tied directly to the way that our basic and premium payments options work. So you'll need to go ahead and have either basic or premium payments set up ahead of time for this function to show up at all. The other requirement is for you to have the ClubExpress mobile app enabled. It does not mean that you have to, the mobile app is free, so there's no added cost for either in-person payments or the ClubExpress mobile app. You just have to go into your control panel under the website section, and you'll see in the bottom of the website there's an option to enable the mobile app. And once both of those options are set up, you have ClubExpress payment processing and you have your mobile app enabled, you should see the option under the money tab, and I'll kind of point it out a little bit later, where you can go to enable this function. So once those are met, again, you'll just go to the money tab of the control panel and you'll see a function titled that it'll be titled POS, where you can turn it on. So you'll click on that and it'll be able for you to uh, enable that. So once you enable the module, you'll need to configure it and set up all of its options. So there's a lot of configuration options. Most of them are fairly straightforward. So the two big options that you get when you're setting up the module are what enabled modules are connected. So that right now there are three modules that connect to in-person payments. And those determine what items can be added to an in-person payments cart. Those three are donations, membership, and storefront. This is something that, you know, if this tool gets a lot of use, we would like to expand on this and add other modules that connect in. But for now, we're just looking at donations, membership, and storefront as the options for things that can be added to a in-person payments cart. The other settings that you'll see when you're configuring in-person payments are the option to enable POS in the mobile app. You'll want to make sure that that's connected, because if you're going to be using the mobile app to process it instead of the desktop portion, checking that little enable in mobile app option will make it so that administrators and coordinators of this function will see it show up. There's also an option to enable pay later. So this is just whether or not you want the pay later option to be there at all. If you create a cart and you go to the checkout screen, if you have the pay later option, selecting pay later means that the transaction in the cart is created, but it's not completed until they pay. That person will get an email just like any other Club Express transaction when it's created but hasn't been paid yet. They'll get an email letting them know that there is a pending payment due. They can either log in if they're a member to submit that payment, or they can click on the link in the email to submit payment, or maybe mail you a check or hand you cash later on if they want to, come back and complete that payment later, and that can be recorded by an administrator. Another thing that we'll talk about again later on is saving carts. So as you create carts, there's an option to save them for later. So if you're talking to someone who's interested in membership or interested in making a donation, and they want to go get their credit card from their car or something like that, and you want to save your progress in the cart and come back to it later, there is an option to save carts. They do eventually expire. You can set how long you want those to last. They can be anywhere from 2 hours to 200 hours. So you can kind of take control of that, but we do have a process set in that those carts do expire so that you don't end up with hundreds of carts saved, taking up a lot of space and real estate in your in-person payments tool. So finally, let's go into a little bit of detail before we get into the demonstration today on what can be connected to in-person payments. So I already mentioned that there's three functions that can be connected. There's donations, membership, and storefront. With donations, any active donation fund will appear. What that means is it'll just show up as an option when you are creating a cart, and you can select that donation. Any amount can be entered regardless of there's a suggested or default or minimum and maximum amount. So this is because this process is controlled by an administrator, you have that administrative control to override things. That applies to coordinators as well. But this is a tool that is intended for an administrator to use on their device. They build the cart and then have someone check out, kind of like what you would experience if you go to like a Ren fair or something like that, or a festival of some kind where you have people like vendors with tables set up in carts. You're using their phone or something to check out. In that case, we are, putting this tool in the hands of administrators to build carts for people that approach them to make a purchase or payment. When it comes to membership, this is a tool that is exclusively for non-members. So if a non-member approaches you and says, "Hey, I'm interested in membership in your organization," you can select an item from the membership list. It'll present you with all the different membership types that are available that you have set up for your organization, and you can select one of those membership types. And when you add a non-member contact to that, what it will do is it will create a member out of their contact information. So if it is an existing non-member already in your database, it will convert them to a new member. If it's a new contact that you're creating right there, they will immediately become a member. This cannot be used currently for active members. So if an active member tries to purchase membership in a way, kind of in order to renew, that doesn't function. Right now, it's just for new members signing up, purchasing their first membership. And then the final option is storefront. So all of the active storefront items will appear for sale, so that you can choose from physical products, you can choose from digital products. And if it's a physical product that has different versions or different sizes, so if someone's buying like a t-shirt or something and you have different sizes, you can select that as you're checking out so they can choose different colors and sizes. When you are checking out with these connected modules, it is important to know you can mix and match these. So you can add a $10 donation and sign up a new member and have them buy a hoodie all at the same time, and they can make one payment to purchase all of these things. It's one of the first times, as far as I know, with ClubExpress. I've been with ClubExpress for about 7 years, and most times people are needing to create individual transactions at one time. This is one of the first times we have something that is kind of seamlessly adding items from across different modules into one cart that you can just check out with a single payment right on the spot. So let's get into taking a bit of a look at using the module. Before I get into using it, though, I want to show you kind of what it'll look like if you are on your ClubExpress mobile app. You would just take out your phone, you would download the ClubExpress mobile app and log in with your email and password that you have connected to your ClubExpress account. And once you log in, you'll see if you've already enabled the POS or in-person payments options, you'll see POS as an option under your functions. You will only see this show up if you are an administrator or a coordinator with the POS option selected. Once you select that POS option, it should pop up with a window asking you to allow the app to use Bluetooth. The reason this is going to show up is going to be because the Stripe M2 card reader that allows you to process credit cards through the point of sale service is it requires Bluetooth connection to your phone. We'll go over how to connect that a little bit later in the webinar, but when you're first starting to use the point of sale system, if you're using that Stripe M2 card reader to process credit cards, you'll want to make sure to allow the ClubExpress app to access Bluetooth on your device. All right, so let me switch over. I'm going to switch over to my screen share, and we're going to kind of go through the steps of what this module is going to look like, how you're going to use this function, and how to get into it and configure it. So let me switch over to my demo website. So this is one of our test websites. It's running on a test environment, so some of the clicks will be a little bit slower. So bear with me as I click on things. It might take a couple seconds for it to load. But if we want to look at it from the website and want to enable it, again, we have those two requirements. You need to make sure that you have the mobile app enabled. You'll find that over in the website tab of the control panel, and you'll see that there is mobile app manager down there in the corner. That's where you can go and find the option to turn on your mobile app. The other thing you'll need is to make sure that your ClubExpress payment processor is set up through either our basic or premium option. You'll find those setup functions under the money tab of the control panel down here under money options. If you need any help setting up your payment processor, just please email support@clubexpress.com and we can help you get that set up. Once those two requirements are set up, you should see the POS option appear under setup. So it'll first appear down here under setup, and you'll click on that, and there's just a simple checkbox to make sure that it is that your other two requirements are already pre-enabled. Once those are pre-enabled, there's a simple checkbox to turn the module on. You can head up to the admin functions here. Once it's enabled, it'll show up right there. Clicking on it here from the control panel will take you into the POS function. It'll take a couple seconds to load because of my test website. And this will take you to the configuration page. So these are those configurations I was talking about a few minutes ago. You'll see enabled modules, and there's three options. You can deselect these. So if you don't want to have donations show up or membership or storefront, you can uncheck any of those and they will not show up when we're using the tool. I'm going to go ahead and leave all three of those on. Then under other settings, we have our enable POS, which is just turning this on to show up in our mobile app. For just about everyone I can imagine, you'll want to make sure that that is checked. Then finally, there's that enable pay later, which will allow you to select pay later as an option. If you deselect this, then you'll only see the cash check and possibly credit card if you have that M2 card reader. And then also there is the time limit for saved carts. So I have mine set to 24 hours. Most of the events that we see people hosting are either, same day events. So if someone doesn't come back to complete their cart, within 24 hours, they're probably not going to come back. And so we'll have it expire then. But if you're hosting like a 3 or 4 day event, you can set it for, 72 hours if you wanted to, have it stick out for the full 3 days of a particular event. If we want to take a look from your website, we can go and click on preview up here, and this will take us into the function itself. So this is what the function looks like. On the mobile app, it's just a little bit narrower. So it's all the same look, whether you're on your website or whether you're on a mobile phone. It just kind of pushes things towards the center if you're on a mobile phone. You have a drop down in the upper left up here that says select contact. And then you have three little icons in the upper right over here. This little credit card icon is where we can go to connect an M2 card reader. We do require the Stripe M2 card reader to process credit cards for in-person payments. There is not an option to manually enter, type in someone's credit card number and all that information. If they are going to be making a credit card payment, it is a card present process where you use that M2 card reader to either tap the chip or tap the card, insert the chip, or swipe the card through the reader. Once you click on M2 card reader, it'll show you a series of screens. I'm not on a mobile device, so I'll show you back on my slideshow in a few minutes what that process looks like on a mobile device. You'll also see a gear icon that will let us kind of come in here and we can refresh our inventory if we want to make sure that all of our inventories are set up correctly. And we can also kind of come in here and we can toggle product images. So if there's storefront images that have different products, we can cycle through which image we see. And then finally, there's the little return icon here, which lets us go and look at our previously saved carts. I don't have any saved carts at the moment, but I will be saving a cart. So this is something that will be coming up later once I save a cart. So in order to create a cart for someone that we have with us in person, the first thing we have to do is select who that person making that purchase is. We can either choose from our existing members and we get the same select member pop-up that we're used to, and we can search by last name or just hit search to see all of our members. We can also choose a non-member, and we get two options when we're doing this. We can select an existing non-member. So if we know that if they've registered for an event or if they have, signed up for a mailing list in the past, we can search our non-member database. Just like searching for members, we're searching by last name and we can find all of the people in our non-member database. Or if we're having someone who attended an event and they've never done anything with your club before, you can create an entirely new non-member record, and clicking this option will have you enter all of their kind of basic personal information. Anything with the little kind of red dot next to it is required for us to create a non-member record for them. This is most commonly going to be required when you are signing someone up for membership. So these are all going to be the same things that we need in order to sign them up as a member as well. For now, I'm going to choose a member, and we'll come in here and we'll find Carla Campbell. Once we select a member, you can either double click or click on select. Once I've selected a contact, you'll see the contact over on the right-hand side. And then you'll see that the select icon in the upper left is now slightly different. It gives us the option to select from donations, membership, or storefront. Those are the connected modules that we have. If we select donations, we'll see all of our currently active donation funds. We've got two funds available right now. We've got facility repair or a new building fund. And we can click on either of these to add it to our cart. So I can say I want to donate to facility repair. For donations, it just simply shows you the description of the donation fund, and then it also shows you how much they want to donate. This is just where we can come in. We can say I want to donate $50 to the facility repair, and then click add to cart. And now I've added that donation to my cart. If they say, hey, I actually also want to donate to the new building fund, you can add multiple items just by tapping on that again and say, I'll donate $100 to the new building fund and hit add. And you'll see we're slowly building out a cart here. We don't have to stop at just donations though. We could check out here and continue on, but we can actually come back over here to our drop-down list and we can say, I also want to add items from the storefront. And we have a few items. All of your active items in your storefront will appear as long as there is inventory available if it's a physical item with limited inventory. So we'll see here we have our hoodies and our baseball cap and an online class that people can purchase. So let's go ahead and buy a hoodie. If you click on an item that has any variations, it'll ask you to fill in which variation that is. So if you've used our storefront before, you can do things like different sizes, different colors, custom configurations. So we can come in here and we can say, I want an extra soft, small black hoodie. That'll be $10. And I can say I also want some initials on the back that are, my three initials. I can say I want one of those. It's going to charge me $10 for the hoodie itself. I've also configured this storefront item to charge me an extra $5 if I am including any additional initials. So by including those initials here, it's going to charge me an extra $5. So the total cost for this is $15, and I can add that to the cart. And then we can also look at things like our baseball cap. This doesn't have any variations. It's just a simple baseball cap. So I can just buy one. I can choose how many I want, add it to the cart. And then for digital items, we can click here. And similarly as before, we can just add this to our cart. And you can see we're building out our cart on the right-hand side over here. I'm currently checking out a cart for a member. So if I look at the membership option, you'll see all of the available, and this is one of our test sites, so there's a lot of extra membership type options here. But you can see if I was to select a membership type for a member, if I try to add that to my cart, it's going to tell me membership type transactions are not available for members. So this is a member. They cannot purchase membership. They can only purchase donations or storefront. And then once I'm happy with this, I can come down here to checkout. And right now I just have three options. I don't have an M2 Stripe reader connected, so it's not going to include the credit card option here. Again, we'll go through some slides that show you what it looks like to connect an M2 card reader in a few minutes. But we can see my total here is $187 for my hoodie, my baseball cap, my online class, and my two donations. I can choose to pay by cash, and the person in person would hand me cash, or they can hand me a check. There's also the option to select pay later. If I choose pay later, it does not complete these transactions. It will add the transactions to my profile. So it'll add them to Carla Campbell's profile. And the next time Carla logs in, she'll get notified that she has a payment due. And upon paying those, then those transactions would be completed. Or she will get an email as well that she can go and click on the link in to be taken to the payment page. If I choose cash or check, I can say collect cash. I would collect the full amount in cash, and my payment is complete. Once I complete a payment, it lets me just start a new one, and I can either choose to start over with a non-member, or I can choose a new member. Let's go ahead and run through that process again, but this time as a non-member. I can search for an existing non-member. We'll come in here and I'll say Richard Alexander. We will save that non-member. So we have a non-member now selected. If we come over here and choose the membership option, for a non-member, we can say, I want to make this non-member. Let's choose a membership type that has a fee. There we go. So this membership type has a fee. If the membership type, if you're an organization that has chapters or subgroups, you can also click on this drop down to select which chapter they are joining. I'm going to join the Crystal Lake chapter. The membership fee for this chapter and for this membership type is $50, and I will add that to my cart. And so now I've got membership in the organization as an associate member here, selected and added to the cart. I can continue to add more items if I want. I can add donations or storefront items. But if I check out here, I can say I'll pay in cash, collect cash. This account has just been activated as a member, and they will now get all of the standard membership activation emails, including their login and username, and they can go log into the website and they are an active member in the website. So it's very easy now to sign up new non-members and new members of your organization just by using the point of sale tool. If you start building a cart for someone, let's say we're going to build a cart for a non-member again. And we are going to add a donation. Someone shows up to our event and they want to donate $100. We can add this to the cart. If they want to pay by card, or they left their cash in their car or something like that, and they need to, leave for any reason and come back later, there is an option to record that payment later. We can save this cart. So if we've built out, a detailed cart where they want, a hoodie and a couple other items. If we want to save this for later because we've already built our cart out and we don't want to have to start from scratch, we can click next to checkout down here. We've got these little three dots. This will give us our cart options. The one we would want to save it for later is save this cart. It'll save the cart. And then we can either proceed to someone else, we can leave, we can close our app and come back later. And then at any other time, let's say I'm going to now clear the cart. Let's switch to someone else. I'm going to say we start over with someone new just to kind of mock this out a little bit. Let's say we start building it for George and we check George out. We can always at any time come up here and we'll see all of our saved carts. And there's that non-member that made a donation from before. We can click on that and click restore. Do keep in mind, if you restore, it overwrites whatever cart we were currently working on. So if George hasn't checked out here, we would want to make sure that we check out George first before restoring a cart. But if George isn't going to complete, we can always come back here, select the cart we were working on before and hit restore. And it'll reload. There's our non-member that we were working with. There's our $100 donation and the hoodie that we selected before. And then we can continue with checkout just like we did before. All right. So to tackle a couple questions I know people have, when it comes to different types of payment, right now we do just have cash, check, pay later, or the credit card option with the M2 card reader. Adding more payment options, things like credits in someone's profile, the option to do things like direct, like Apple Pay, like phone to phone Apple Pay. Those are all things that we're really interested in adding to this module. This is our, kind of version one of this function. So ultimately, we will be expanding on it. There seems to be a lot of excitement about it. So we're going to, hopefully get a lot of people using it and trying it out. And then as things progress, we'll start adding more and more to the module. Right now, let's go ahead and take a break and take a look at the process for the M2 card reader. If we head over to my slideshow again. So these are the screens you'll see when you're connecting that card reader. When you are in your mobile app and you click on the POS option, you'll see that credit card icon in the um, upper right, and you'll click the Connect M2 card reader. When you do that, it's going to pop up with a little kind of bit of text letting you know that you need to have the M2 card reader turned on and available. You can do that just by holding on the power button, and then you will hold the reader near your phone, and it should automatically pop up to your phone to say, it'll say something in the quotes STR M2, which stands for Stripe M2, and then a series of numbers would like to pair with your device, iPad, iPhone, Android device. Once you click pair, it'll say it's received the connected response, and then once you finish that, when you go to the checkout option, there will be a credit card payment option. You'll select that, and a screen like this will pop up that'll say present card to card reader. You can then just either swipe a credit card, tap a credit card, or insert a chip into the card reader in order for it to process. It's a fairly straightforward process with the M2 card reader. If there is ever a connection issue, if you take the card reader too far away from your phone or Bluetooth disconnects or something like that, the only additional step you would need to take is just going into your device's Bluetooth settings, forgetting the Stripe reader, and then just repeating this process again. So all you have to do is, again, just forget the device from your Bluetooth settings, and then just repeat this process again. You open up POS, click on M2 card reader, go through the pairing process. And then once it's paired, you should be able to see that credit card option when you click checkout, and you can pay by, again, tap, chip, or swipe. Those are the only options right now for credit card processing in the uh, POS function or the in-person payment function. So this is something that we hope to expand on in the future. We just need more time to kind of add additional payment options to the reader, but we were really excited to get this out and get it in the hands of people as quickly as we were possibly able to. Okay, the final thing I'll go over is the other cart options. So you notice when I clicked those three buttons next to checkout, there was the save cart option, but there's also the clear cart and select new contact option. So if you click clear cart, it is going to remove everything from the cart and remove the contact selected. So it's going to completely empty the cart out and let you start over fresh with someone new. There's also the option to select new contact. That is very similar to the clear cart option. The biggest difference is that if you don't clear the cart, if you were to come back to someone who already had a cart in progress later on, it should remember, similar to saving the cart, if we start over mid process with someone, it should remember all the items in the cart. I am using the word should here. If you were to log out or close your app, all of that information is stored in the app as you're using it. So if you close the app and come back, that cart information might be lost. Now, if you save the cart, then you are definitely able to close the app, log out, anytime in the next however many hours you set it to remember your cart. Saving the cart will hold it for that long. If you just select a new contact or just close the app, it will only remember it for as long as the instance of your using that POS module, POS function is in place. Um, but yeah, that's about all it is for right now. Again, we're still finalizing all of the functions, and we'll have this available for people to start using and testing out in about a week. So you'll get an email with instructions on how to enable and some final instructions on everything else. I know I've seen a few questions that I can tackle from the Q&A. There's people asking about like tap to pay with their phone. That is something that we are working on right now. It is not a function that we have as an option. Right now, it's just cards. So it's just going to be tapping a credit card, swiping a credit card, or inserting a credit card's chip. That is the next version of the POS function that we are hoping to have available. Is, if we're getting enough people using the module, then we will try to put more time into adding additional payment methods like credit or other payment options that we have from other locations. So tap to pay with a phone is definitely high on our priority list there. Let's see. I've seen questions about how much the Stripe card reader costs. I don't know off the top of my head. I know that is something you have to get directly from Stripe. ClubExpress doesn't offer or sell the M2 card reader directly to you. I've seen people posting links to the M2 card reader in the chat. Thank you so much for that. That's great. Yeah, you just go to stripe.com and you can go to the terminal section of their website and they sell card readers and you're looking for the M2 card reader. Thank you, Ed, for putting that in the chat. So yeah, it looks like right now it's on sale on their website for $59, but we are Club Express. We don't have control over what Stripe sells that for. So that could fluctuate. It could go on sale. It could, rise in price. Who knows? So you'd have to go to Stripe for pricing and information on that. All right. I know there's some people asking, have we considered partnering with Square for in-person payments? It's something we have looked into and kind of discussed in the past, but there's a lot of hurdles that go into that I don't think we are considering that. At least not at the moment. Things change over time. There was a time when we said we wouldn't partner with Stripe, and that's what we do now. So, things change. Um, Someone asks in the chat, what about events and membership renewal? Membership renewal is something that we were hoping to have available. It's something we put some work into. So ideally, if this function gets a lot of use and we're seeing a lot of people really excited about it, then we'll put even more developer time into it. And membership renewal is certainly one of those things on our list that we want to function. It just wasn't able to get fully stable in time for our launch for us to get it out. So that's on our list. Event registration is also on our list of things we want to function in the point of sale tool. That is a very complicated thing for us to add. It is really, really high on our list of things that we want to accomplish, but there's so many different options when it comes to registering for an event that making it easy for people to just add a particular event to the cart, because there's things like, are there additional activities for a particular event, are there questions that need to be asked, does the event have limitations? So it's an interest for us and it's something that we really want to do. It's just going to take us a little bit of time to see if it's viable, and if it is, then we're definitely going to put a lot of work into getting both membership renewal and events. You've kind of hit the nail on the head of what our eyes are set on this function being able to do in the future. There's also a lot of other modules. I know I've seen throughout the webinar today, I've seen people just, shouting out other modules that have charges that they want to be connected to this in-person option. We would love to connect more and more. This is a function. This is our first version of this function. We would love for as many modules as possible to be connected to this. That's the goal. We're just going to have to roll out, version by version to make sure that everything stays stable and make sure that everything stays, functional. That way we're, reducing the number of, possible issues that can creep up. All right, let's see if we can find Evan. Is there any other questions that you want to throw at me?
Just one. So once someone has put something in their carts, there's that pay later option that would allow the member to then go log into the site at a future date and make that payment, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the pay later option, it doesn't complete any of the transactions listed. It just creates the transaction itself on the user's profile. So it works for both non-members and members. So those of you who are, especially if you're selling physical products and you choose that pay later option, I would be careful with that, because if you hand someone a hoodie or something and they choose the pay later and you choose the pay later option with them, you're giving them the physical product without having received payment yet. So that seems reasonable for something like donations where payment is the goal of it, or membership where payment is the goal of it, and they won't be members until they complete that payment. But with physical products, you wouldn't want to give them the physical product without having them submit payment. But yes, the option is there. If you choose the pay later option, it kind of puts the transaction on hold and it goes into their member profile or into their non-member record. And the member can either log in and complete payment on their own from the website or from their own phone. Um, and for non-members, they'll get a transaction email with a link to complete payment. I think that's all the questions I have answers to directly. Again, this function isn't live yet. We expect it to be live in between 1 and 2 weeks, and we'll be notifying you when it is. And so once we've finalized everything, hopefully we'll have even more answers for you. And I'm certain this isn't the last webinar we'll be doing on the in-person payments or POS function. So keep an eye out. We'll be doing more on it. We'll be updating documentation on it. We'll be having a lot of information on how this function works. This was just our first look at version 1 of the in-person payments admin function. So thank you all so much for attending, and we'll have the recording of this webinar up for you in a few days. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a good rest of your day.